family. And I can really tell you that we had a very, very busy and tight last year from the time frame, but we are still within the time limits that we all agreed upon. And we are looking forward very much to the next session and to the first release in March. And we are optimistic that we can present something to you that will be useful for the current programming period 2021 to 2027 as a tool for the programming and all the programs. So once again, very welcome from Vienna. Thank you very much for participating in this session today. I'm looking forward very much to the results. And yeah, I don't want to waste your time and give the floor back to Ivana. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin. And also for this new moment when you said current period 21-27, this is true. Now we cannot call it post 2020 anymore. Now we are in the current period. Yes, so maybe we can start the presentation also to introduce the team. I think many of you probably already participated in various events related to Jems. But now we can officially introduce the whole team. Now we are full, and therefore we will just remind you all and also additionally introduce our latest team member. So as you know, we have Aya Prince, who is our project manager, who's taking care of all logistical issues and keeping everybody in line in this project. Then we have José, who is there. You can see actually how he looks like, but he prefers this funny picture, who is our IT manager. He's been working with us for now more than almost 3 years, actually. Then we have Genia Ortiz, who is our product owner. I'm sure many of you are in touch with her on more or less regular basis. Then we have Alexander Kulmer, who is our Interreg requirements analyst, as well as Peter Lowers, who is also requirements analyst, both of them coming from Interreg programs, so and different Interreg programs, so transnational and CBC, so we covered. And then we have the latest member, Yuri Moskalenko, who is our IT manager and responsible for quality issues and quality assurance. So as you can see, this is, first of all, a gender balanced group, as the first slide said, and we are very, very confident that we have a good team right now. I will not waste too much time now talking about the associated team, but yes, there are more people working on this. First of all, entire Interact is behind this, but more importantly, entire Interreg is also behind this project. And we are very, very happy, and we hope you will be also happy at the end of this event. That is all for me for now, and I give now floor back to the real content of this event.
Thank you very much for all those nice messages. We are really excited that we're already at the second milestone event. But after we start with the content, let me briefly go through a few practicalities. Briefly for Zoom, I guess most of you are in this time already familiar with Zoom. There are a few options to raise the way you feel, and you can use those if you need a coffee break, if you're happy or not, if you agree or not. So don't hesitate to use them. So you can go to the participants and there you can see these options.
Peter, if I may,
yes.
Sorry, because as of this week, actually Zoom has a new update that we are also now discovering that actually raising hand is under reactions. So if you see a little emoticon at the bottom of the screen where it says reactions, that's where you can raise a hand. This is since Monday, the latest thing. Sorry to interrupt.
No, thanks very much. That's good to explain. So you see actually on the top this bar, except for participants, there's also an emoticon reaction. So it is there. Thank you for that update, Ivan. I didn't know about that. Then I already mentioned it in the beginning, but please rename yourself. So as indicated in the bottom, put your organization behind your name. and if you didn't do so yet. Then a few housekeeping rules. Most of you are also familiar with this already, so please stay muted unless you're talking. Any contribution or sharing ideas is of course very welcome. Be open and be patient. Regarding questions, we do not answer questions in the chat. Please use the Slido here. We will also post that in the chat regularly so that you do not lose the code or the link. And there will be a few moments where we will go through Slido to answer all your questions. And in case we do not manage to answer all questions, we will for sure answer them later on and then send them with the presentations, etc., to all the attendants. So all questions will be answered. Then there's also breakout rooms, and there we of course ask for your direct input. So there you can use the chat or speak up, but in the plenary sessions, please use the Slido. So briefly, to go very briefly through the agenda of today, I guess you've also seen it already. We're now at the welcome and introduction. Afterwards, we go through the state of play to explain you where we are. Then we have the timeline to show you what is coming next. And then we have answering a session to answer questions of Slido. And then we have a brief break. And then after the break, we will go into the software demonstration where we will really show you the system. And then in that session, we also have the half the time reserved for breakout rooms where we hope for your feedback. So that is the time to speak up and ask any questions, clarifications. We can show you more. And then the last session is technical prerequisites. So we will explain the technicalities of the system and a few features that we have developed. And then at the end, the remaining time we will use for closure, but also to, of course, answer any other questions that pop up in Slido. So a brief objective, why are we here? So this is the second milestone review. And the objective of this meeting is not to have a discussion on new features or a wish list, but really to see what has been developed up to now and to get feedback on these features. So to really see if you can work with the system, how it is now, or if you miss certain requirements or if certain things that are there are not exactly meeting your needs. Then regarding the registration, so we have large numbers showing up, so that's really nice. We have 165 participants, 23 countries represented and 43 programs. So there's numerous institutions, so from different levels and different institutions, we have people present, so that is nice. And then briefly for the statistics, so majority says that they are actually also from the programs who answered the survey related to the registration. They answered that they are planning to use the system, and also that there are still quite some that did not make a decision yet. Also, a little bit less than half of you have participated in sprint reviews. So if you have not done yet, please do so. You're always welcome to participate in sprint reviews. And also a little bit less than half indicated that you are a member of the thematic network on Jems. So that was it for the technicalities. With that, I would like to hand the floor to Aya, who will speak to you about the state of play.
Yes, good morning also from my side. I would like to present you the state of play of developments of the system. As it was earlier communicated, implementation or development phase was kicked off on 4th May last year. And by date, we already have had 17 two-week sprints, which means we are in development phase already 8 months. What this includes? It includes organization of sprint reviews. Every second week, we organize meetings with stakeholders where everyone interested can follow development process and timely provide their feedback to the implemented features. Also, we have regular meetings with the core group where system requirements are specified. And we organize also milestone review meetings that are events where more significant developments are demonstrated. The very first one we had last year in September. Also, continuous building of backlog is undergoing activity, which includes analysis of requirements for the system and writing specifications of the features of the system. And we also organized user tests to prove the usability concepts and worked on UX solutions to make sure that system is user-friendly and intuitive for the end users. But about that in more details in the upcoming slides. Outcomes of implementation phase at any point is testable software. What do we have in the system by now? We have already all sections of the application form available according to the HIT template. We have program setup and call management. In program and call setup, program users can select and define which SCOs shall be displayed in the application form. We have also basic user management in the system. We have assessment workflow up to the funding decisions, and we also have multiple languages of system and for application form input, as well as audit log. Jems is co-developed together with 7 Interreg programs who forms pool of Interreg knowledge and has committed their time in helping to specify the software. Core group members meet in regular core group meetings, as well as in thematic groups that are dedicated to specific topics like finance, content, or IT. And usually these thematic groups are organized as ad hoc meetings where core group members participate according to their expertise. And these meetings are organized to gather requirements for specifications of the system and receive feedback on solutions that Jems team proposes. Also, a wider group of stakeholders, so-called user group, actively is invited to take part in co-development of the system through thematic network on Jems. A group is formed from now 189 members who observes or takes active part in development of the system. And members are updated on the state of play of the system regularly through the platform and is informed on the work that core group is doing, as well as invited to join Jems activities like testers pool or sprint reviews. And user group is always welcome to provide feedback to implemented features and of course submit their ideas via this community. Everyone who is interested in observing or actively getting engaged in development of the system are welcome to join also sprint review meetings. These are meetings that are organized to demonstrate developments of 2 weeks and after compare results with the commitments given in the beginning of the sprint. The invitations to these meetings are posted in Jems community, and together with the invitation, we usually mention also sprint goal with the requirements developed in this specific sprint where it's all described. So everyone who is interested or has an input for specific features developed within this sprint can then join the meeting and contribute developments. By now, we have had already 17 sprint review meetings, and we are in the middle of 18th sprint. And as you can see, these meetings are interesting not only for project team, but also for programs. And here you can see some statistics that shows attendance of programs per review meetings. And please note that project team representation is not included in the graphs. And there are programs who haven't missed one sprint review meeting, so which is shows commitment of programs. But let's ask, for example, Constance, who also is joining us today from Interreg Bavaria, Czech Republic program, who have joined 14 from 17 sprint review meetings. How valuable, Constance, you find the Jems Fortnite sprint review meetings, and what is the benefit of joining these meetings for your program?
Good morning to everyone. Thanks, Aya, for your questions. For me, the sprint review meetings are really highly valuable. In the review meetings, Interreg and the programmers just presents perfectly and on point what happened the last 2 weeks. So you can, first of all, just listen, and it keeps you up to date with less effort, or even it forces you to stay updated so that you can actively participate in the sprint meetings, and probably you can explain bugs from the last EMS, or you can actively present your own wishes or give hints how your program works in specific processes and how they should or can maybe be built in Jems. And I guess the most important thing about it is when you get Jems, it's not like a black box. You know the logic, interact, applies on the workflows and processes. And with the experience of the Jems review meetings, you're also get inspired by other programs, and maybe you rethink your own processes and already do some improvements for the new or current period. And yeah, I guess it makes life easier in the future. So thank you a lot for this possibility, and I would really highly recommend everyone to join these meetings. Thanks to Interact and the programmers.
Thanks, Constanze, for your feedback. And also Inessa Nikopensius joined sprint review meetings very actively. Also, Inessa, you joined 14 from 14 sprint review meetings, and once even combined sprint review meeting with on-the-spot check, as we all saw. Inessa, what is your most memorable experience, maybe issues, learnings from the sprint review meetings, and what is the benefit of joining the meetings for your program?
Good morning, everybody. Hello from Estonia. Yes, thank you, Aya, for giving this chance to speak up. And actually, I can very much agree with Constanze, what she was like saying. And I don't have much to add, but if to talk about these memorable experiences or issues and learnings, so the sprint reviews is very great opportunity to learn about the things which are important for the other programs, experiences what the other programs do. And maybe in our program, we don't use this practice. Maybe for the future, maybe we will use it, but in the same time, for some things, you can just like wonder how this is even possible. So one concrete example is these last sprint reviews, very hot potato is these multilingual issues, which for our program, we are so small. And I don't even, it's not possible even to understand like how it's, if application will be submitted in Estonian and Latvian, in light of human resources, how we would assess it, how we would check the request for changes, like how we would be like sure like something going on. But so really respect for the programs who are using it. So it's like a very good thing, but we can just learn, and maybe for the future we can use it up. And another thing about experiences is maybe the worth to point out that IT guys, our developers, are speaking the language which the even usual people can understand. So it's like not very often happening. And about the benefits, yes, so Constance already covered up very many, but so this is like, yeah, the possibility to learn on the go. So we are like really much helping our beneficiaries, our applicants. So we are like teaching them. And if I will understand this historical information on this data, where what is possible, how it's possible, what to do, like, so I will be also better, possible to give a better guidance. And not only so I'm looking in these Jems reviews, I'm like, look, sprint reviews, sorry. I'm like looking more from the perspective of the program user, or even like a step in the shoes of applicants and beneficiaries. So I can like see what, if I need to give advice, so how I can improve myself and what will be this good things that I can give over. And of course, yeah, the other thing is that it's good sharing the good practices, experiences, and to learn more in the process. So basically that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ines. Also to you. We can move further to another activity that the Jems team is organizing. It's user tests. And of course, significant part of development process is also to work on usability of the system, to offer a system that is not only functional, but also user-friendly. We organize these user tests where we check with users, is our concept working or not? And during this time, we have organized 2 user rounds. Test rounds. First was with the program users and another one with applicants, where we gathered very useful feedback from our end users, and all suggestions were discussed within the team, and where applicable, we added these suggestions to our backlog of requirements. Heike Schutt from Interreg Mecklenburg-Vorpommern took part in one of the user tests. And Heike, can you share maybe your experience with participation in these tests, and maybe how valuable did you find the possibility to join such a test?
Yes, thank you, Aya, for giving me the floor. Good morning, everybody. I participated actually last summer in the user test concerning the usability, and I appreciated it very much because due to my experiences using EMS, I was very glad to share insights. These tests are really well prepared, like the users are guided through the user test. They get tasks from the development team, and they are observed how they are going to fulfill the task. You are explaining actively what each step you are doing, how you would use the features in Jems to solve the test. And yeah, you can do nothing wrong because each user uses the application differently, because yeah, everybody has its own ways. And it's a learning process also for the development team that users are different and what works best. So for all of them, so to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I can only support everybody to participate in these user tests, but also the sprint reviews. This is really valuable as well.
Thanks a lot, Heike. Just to continue, in November last year, we organized also a survey among programs to better understand the program timelines, and meaning when certain features are needed to be in the system so programs can use them. Results of the survey were used to review the timeline of the software delivery, and my colleague Kenya later will also show you the timeline, the new updated timelines. In total, we got like 38 questionnaires. They were submitted, and results of the survey you can find in thematic network on Jems. Very shortly about license agreement. So all programs that are interested in testing or using Jems system will have to sign a license agreement with the City of Vienna, that is hosting institution of Interact Office Vienna. And in order to draft this license agreement, City of Vienna contracted legal support, and according to the planned timeline, license agreement should be finalized by the end of the month. And just for your information, there was no intention actually to change the current agreement significantly, especially regarding the liability of the City of Vienna. Agreement will be updated, but the main principles of use will remain the same, and we will just clarify and describe in more detail certain points. The difference with the license agreement of EMS is that this license agreement will have official version in English. Previously, as you know, official language was German, and agreement had courtesy translation. Soon we will be in a stage where we will be ready to provide programs with access to the Jems software. This we foresee after delivery of the first release. And in order to get access to the Jems software, programs will need authority from their own relevant management structure to decide, test, and use Jems. And with that authority, programs should send us an email to our jems@interact.eu.net email to receive this license agreement. And after, programs will receive license agreement from the City of Vienna, which will need to be signed by the program in order to receive installation files and instructions. Program, of course, should ensure all the technical steps and test Jems system before starting to use the software with the real data. Please note, this is important, that signing the license agreement does not oblige a program to use the system. You can also test the system and decide whether you want to use it for your program. While Jems is easy to use, there are very important technical requirements that must be met to use the system. Detailed specifications are available in the Jems community, and also my colleagues later today will explain you a bit about these technicalities. These are documents, Jems technical specifications and Jems installation instructions that you can have a look at. And you should ensure in your program that competent IT officer reads these documents, and the program actually can meet these requirements, including having a budget for maintenance and any customization that program might need. Interact strongly recommends that every program maintains a separate test environment to check all updates before installing on the main system, ideally as part of your IT maintenance contract. Programs also will have access to the source code, which will enable programs who wishes something extra to create their own add-ons. And please note, any such modification are at program's own cost and risk. And also, please note that any changes to the source code, no matter how small, means that Interact cannot guarantee compatibility of future updates. There are three key elements to dedicated support you can expect from Jems team. You should join the thematic network on Jems. In this network, you will find all communication from the Jems team, notices of new versions of the Jems software, invitations to the sprint review meetings, trainings, events, and much more. Interact also will provide 8 hours of support for each signed license agreement within 6 months. This can be used also to support installation or customization for the program. And please note that there is no service level agreement between Interact and programs. Interact's team will maintain and manage the core software, including releasing updated versions with the bug fixes, improvements, and more. The thematic network on Jems is also your portal to peer-to-peer support, as well as Interact contributions. The community is open to any member to create content, such as asking questions in the forum, sharing content and information relevant to Jems, as well as the source code of all instructions, guidance, and other information. Any program that builds an add-ons or similar tool is encouraged also to make this development available through the community to all other programs. And this community will be also the best place to troubleshoot technical and practical issues discovered in Jems, and also space to ask questions as well as to share your solutions on Jems as well as related subjects. This cooperation through the Interact community was one of the strongest benefits of the original EMS software, and we are really confident that it will be also the case for Jems. So how can you get involved now? There are 3 possibilities. Firstly, sprint review meetings. Please, for you, this is the place where you can closely follow developments and timely provide your input. Secondly, there is testers pool. You can sign up for this tester pool by getting in touch with us. We already have a wide range of representatives of various user profiles who will use the future system and who will be asked to test specific features and modules of their competence. And they will also be involved in providing information for the design of specific workflows and features upfront. So this is also your chance to have a say on how Jems will look in the future. And third, thematic network on Jems. If you have something to say, this is the place where you can do it, and this is also a place where we do it. And here you will always be up to date with Jems team is working on. If you're curious to see what is already in the system, we will also show it today, but still after the meeting, if you're curious to see what is in the system already now, you can check it later. There is an address provided also. Every second week, the test system also is updated with the newest build. So test it, check it, whether it will work for your program, and provide us with your impressions and suggestions. That is it for the state of play part, and I'm happy to hand over to Genia, who will give you insights on the timeline and scope of the Jems system.
Yes, thank you, Aya. So I will give you now information about the timeline and the scope of Jems development. First of all, I would like to start with the overall big picture. What shall our system cover? What is our ambition? We would like to include the full program workflow and the full project management workflow in the system. And the Jems system should be in line with all the legal requirements, mainly from EU regulations, of course. Jems will be based on HIT. HIT is the big initiative by Interact together with programs to harmonize program management forms as much as possible. And all these forms, first of all, application form, but then also later on reporting, will be the sound basis also for Jems and will be implemented as they are harmonized by the HIT process. And also thanks at this place to the colleagues from HIT. They are really doing a great job and delivering us really a sound basis, and we are closely in contact still with them in order to get everything properly into the system. Jems will be hosted decentralized by the programs. So this is the same as for EMS. Programs will have either internally or externally to provide a space for their instances of the Jems system to run their own Jems instance. And Jems will be delivered kind of as a core system. With Jems, we try to cater for the needs and requirements for most of the Interact programs. However, since workflows and requirements are somehow also very diverse still between the programs, Jems will also be flexible enough and adjustable so that programs can add their own kind of plugins or add-ons. So this flexibility shall be given as well. And there will also be a possibility to exchange on these add-ons between programs. So we are in a second milestone review meeting. So I think this question is fair enough. What is actually a milestone? A milestone is a point in time where a significant functionality or feature is completely implemented in the system. And this is also a very good occasion to show this complete feature to a wider audience, as we are doing now in this milestone review, as compared to the regular reviews where we only look back for the last 2 weeks. So this is now a kind of a presentation of a bigger part of the system. Then not only the demonstration or the information to programs, to participants, to you all is one of the aims of this milestone review, but also we would like to collect the feedback, and you have the opportunity for this in the Slido, but also then in the discussions in the breakout rooms very soon. Yeah, and you can imagine that we have been very busy in the last sprints to achieve the goal to really put everything in that we want to present here now today to you in the system. But now we can then also move on to next features and implement the next parts of the system. Yeah, I'm still going from the overall picture into the detail. This is the overall timeline now of the Jems system. And you can see we have divided the scope of the Jems system into phases. Phase 1 started 1 year ago. And the phases are closely linked to the life cycle of the program and project management. So what comes first is also implemented first and is also part in the first phase. That is, in this case, the project program setup, application generation, assessment up to the decision. And the phase 2 will only then start later on, which is contracting, reporting, financial control, payments. Third phase will be audit, recoveries, and closure. So phase 1 started 1 year ago. First line of code was written in May last year. We had the first milestone end of September. Then today we are in the middle of the slide with our second milestone review. The first release will then be in 2 months' time approximately. Then we will provide together with the license also the software to the programs. Program will start implementing the software or installing the software and feeding it with real data. And since we then expect a lot of feedback, we will do many kind of improvements, smaller ones that are needed according to that feedback. And we agreed with the core group that soon after the first release in May, we will launch a second release that then will be already significantly improved even. Yeah, phase 3 we intend, phase 2 will start already after the March release. We said, so in parallel, we're still implementing or improving features of phase 1. We will also start with the second phase and those functionalities. Third phase shall be starting end of this year according to plan, and the program as from we see it now shall end mid of 2022, so mid of next year. Yeah, Aya mentioned it already. We also made a survey last autumn, and this survey helped us a lot to get an indication of the timing, because what we need was a survey among the programs. And we got a very valuable insight who is going to start when, and when are what features needed to be provided in the system. This is our overall goal, that whatever we deliver with Jems to the programs should be delivered on time and should be there in place and working when programs are needing it. So based on the results of the survey, we generated a timing or a time schedule for our Jems for the closer future, I would say. So you can see the first calls were intended to start more or less now or as soon as possible, as soon as regulations and programs are approved. Then first contracts are expected to be signed by the end of approved projects at the end of this year or second half. First payment claims we are also expecting already end of this year in the second half. Mainly first payments will of course be lump sums for preparation costs, reporting national control. Programs also expect to start end of this year. And according to this, we will work and we will prioritize our features, what we bring to implementation. So now a little bit more in detail. The scope of the first phase, as we said, is the life cycle of programs and projects up to the decision, including the assessment. And maybe going into more detail, the first milestone which we achieved was already first part of this phase. There we presented the 3 user roles: administrator, program user, and applicant user. We had a program and a call setup where the main intervention logic, like specific objectives, priorities, indicators, etc., can be set up and defined. Then we had a application management. You could draft applications and could change the status to submitted, then according to the decision, and applications can also be sent back to the applicant and be resubmitted with changes. Yeah, first parts of HIT application form have also been presented end of September. And the multiple system languages, and as well as the audit log, was also already in place. So for today, second milestone, we continue on the HIT application form, and now all the input fields that are in the form are also implemented in the system. For that, also basic simplified cost options can be defined and set in the program setup and taken over to the call setup, and then also appear accordingly in the application. We also present a revised intuitive edit mode today. This was a feedback already by programs that the edit mode we had first was not so user-friendly. So now you can really click into a field, edit it, and you always have a save button available and on the screen visible. And multilinguality, we also implemented now the option that the application form can be entered in all the different input languages a program will require. Yeah, what are we going to do from tomorrow on? After this milestone review, we will prepare for the first release for March, and there will still be required some fine-tuning of the application form in the system according to the feedback we are getting today and in the next future, but also a few kind of summary tables that are still waiting to be implemented into the system. Then we will improve on the call and program setup. It should be possible to edit the section and to make certain changes. It should be possible to add call documentation, so upload documents, Certain translations in call and program setup shall be implemented. For example, translation of priority names, names of indicators or funds. Then we will implement so-called pre-submission checks. These are checks before an application is being submitted, or an application can only be submitted if certain fields are completed and if certain conditions are fulfilled. And these checks give, of course, security to applicants, but also save a little bit work to program officers to do their completeness checks. Yeah, and we also developed kind of screens for basic dashboards. So whenever a user enters into the system, logs in, the first thing he sees is the dashboard, and according to the type of user he is logged in as, the dashboard will guide him through the system and help to find the most important features he needs. Yeah, after the March release, there will come the May release, as already announced. And features we plan for this May release is to improve the file management. Together with the core group, we have developed a structure for the files in the system, and this will be implemented step by step. We will also improve things in the call setup. Ceilings for co-financing rates shall be added, and it should be possible to hide fields in the application form. The HIT form is has also defined optional fields for applications that can be switched off by programs. And this kind of functionality shall be provided in the Jems, so that then there is an appropriate template according to the needs of programs for a particular call. We will also work on a first solution for two-step application procedures. We will start working on privileges management, because with the 3 roles, of course, we will not be making programs happy. So the privileges should be much more sophisticated. Also, this we have already discussed with core group, and we have a proposal for a solution that is going to be implemented. Finally, we will also plan to introduce features for input locking. So if 2 people are working in the same part of the system, that the system makes sure that the contents are not overwritten by each other. Yeah, what we always do in parallel is collecting the feedback and react by improving the system, function-wise, of course, the feedback that we get in the reviews, but also people are writing us emails. We do also improvements on usability, also partly reacting to feedback by users, just like I explained it for the edit mode, but also smaller things like more understandable error messages or improvements in the layout, etc. And we are also implementing technical improvements that are not directly visible to the users, but that should help to keep the system more efficient and more lean. Also something like providing templates for pages. So whenever a new page is created, it does not need really all the elements need to be placed separately and again, just like the menus. This should all be there, and just the contents shall be filled in. Makes it also easier to harmonize the look of the system. Yeah, then the phase 2 that shall slowly be introduced in March will comprise contracting module, reporting, and the first payments, also financial control. But still in parallel, we will improve and work on features of phase 1. For example, we plan to implement a form for state aid to manage small project funds and umbrella projects, to provide overviews, project overviews, overview tables. We will step by step extend the user or privilege management, assessment sheets where a big wish by programs. Also, we will tackle this issue, the 4 I's principle and other things will come. Yeah, maybe a last word. You have now an overview and you see this software is still a work in progress. So a part is already finished, but it's really the first moment where we can show all inputs fields in the application form. So there is still room for improvement. And also please consider this when you look at the demonstration later on, that we are not presenting a complete software, but just part of it. And this is also the big strength of the agile methodology, that you can really soon deliver functional software. So from the first sprint on, we have something that we can test, that we can present. We are collecting feedback and you can anytime flexibly change things, make improvements, because you have anytime the possibility to put things in the next sprint. So this is really for us a big value, and we also see that programs are taking these opportunities on and help us a lot to make the software really workable and functional for Interact programs. So this was as much from my side, and now I hand over. I think we have a question answer session now.
Yes, now we will go to questions and answers session. I'm sharing with you the questions that were asked, and maybe Alex, could you please start with the first one?
Yes, thank you, Aya. So the question is, there's a program having more than 15 members of the monitoring committee. And the question is if each of them can have access to the test version, or only JS and MA members are allowed. So first of all, we have the test version that is openly available to anyone. So whoever wants to test can register himself as a user in our test system and try out the first features. And as soon as a program signed the license agreement, they can have their own installation. And of course, you then decide who can be a tester on your installation. So you can give access to all the members of your monitoring committee. This is fully up to you to decide who can test in your system, in your test system. Just be aware, for example, in our installation, everybody can test. So then, of course, you will see a lot of data, and maybe sometimes it's also confusing because, for example, the program setup is only one section. So whoever changes it will affect all the projects in the installation, for example.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Alex. Let's move to the next one. Do you already know how the share of add-ons will be organized within the Jems community? Jose, could you please take this one?
Yes, so we don't have anything written right now, nothing exactly planned, but we can assure that we have at least 2 platforms for that. We have our classical communities from Interact, where all programs can share files there, and we strongly suggest to do that, but still in a more organized way. I think Interact, we should, and we have this platform, it's where the code of Jems will be and is right now. It's in this repository from GitLab. I think we can make it more formal and more structural, and we can organize there all the add-ons so that everyone can access. Aya? You are muted, Aya.
Yes. Thanks, Jose, for this. The next one, good morning. We have more than 15 members in our monitoring committee. Each of them can have access to the
I think we answered this question. I think there was
you have to move them
question.
to Don.
Yeah.
There will be limits to this file size upload. It used to be 2 MB and projects found that limiting.
Yeah, I can take this maybe because I was dealing with the file management, and we still did not impose any limit, but we said we would like to be more generous with limits. So 2 megabyte looks very small to me, but maybe to avoid that uploading of files get stuck, we will introduce a certain limit, but this will by far be higher. And in a kind of longer term, it is also planned to let programs decide what the limit shall be according to their local requirements or technicalities. also file, not only file sizes, but also file types. There should be the most kind of dangerous files, such as executables and so on, shall be excluded from upload, but most other file types that are kind of normally expected for upload shall be allowed. And also this can then be in a later stage configurable.
Thanks, Genia. When do you think to have an audit of the GEMS? The audit authorities will ask for at least a basic audit report, even if the system is not finalized yet. Ivana, maybe you can?
Yes, well, we foresee Q3 or Q4 of this year, or at least starting in Q3. So that's about current plan, but of course we can see how this will be developed. Maybe I can also take the other question, which was about license agreement signing, which was accidentally deleted. At the moment, the intention is that hosting institution signs for each program separately. But we are finalizing a license agreement actually in these days. So we will see, but the advice from the legal experts was that it's signed separately. So we will see what the final version looks like.
Thanks, Ivana. The next one, what happens to add-ons when new features or updates, bug fixes of GEMS are released? Jose?
Yeah, that's always a problem. But the idea is to follow the same approach as EMS, so that any update, we will make an effort to continue to have compatibility with the add-ons that the programs developed. It's on the best effort to have this compatibility. I mean, some updates that, you know, might not be possible to continue with that compatibility, and in that case, it will be clearly stated in the release notes that some intervention must be done there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. At which points of the process could an interface access GEMS to transfer data to other systems? Jose, I think it's also you.
You know, this is about the API of GEMS. Actually, it's one of the strong pillars, I would say, of GEMS is the API. It's really cool, it's really powerful, very simple, and everything the user can do in the browser can be done in the API. So you pretty much can use that API to transfer all kind of data from all parts of the system. Right now, actually, I mean, right now, don't have the license signed, so, but as soon as you have the software, you can play around with the API and you'll see that it's very flexible.
Okay, thank you. Is that right that there is no field start date and end date of project, but only project duration? Peter?
Yes, that's indeed correct. This was a decision within HIT. In the new program period, there's the decision that we move to periods instead of exact dates. So basically during the contracting, so this is only in the drafting of the application form. During the contracting, you will have an official start date, and then also the months are automatically calculated so that you get an end date. So for the drafting of the application form, this is correct.
Okay, thank you. In the GEMS technical specifications file, it's mentioned that RESTful API will be used. Can we get more information about that and about info fields database schema? Jose?
Sure, I think it's a good feedback actually to include also in the next update. I will make it to the technical specifications, maybe some kind of overview of how it looks, because I cannot be updating every time it changes, you know. Yeah, because it changed every time we have a sprint. Per sprint is always changing the API. I cannot be all the time updating that file, but it will be kind of a representative thing. You can actually access to it. You can see right now what are the possibilities. I think I will post it in the link of maybe the chat of Zoom, if you are here still. I will figure it out so that you see exactly what you can do right now in the API. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Jose. Are you here? I have to apologize if I don't get it right, but then the person who wrote it can maybe ask it again. So the question, are you considering adding on the predefined list of countries plus the section location of investment, or the countries particularly in programs using GEMS, or will be done by each program? Is it how the question should sound? And I think, Jose, is it you?
I mean, maybe
Yeah,
because you
okay.
will see the investment section during the demo. There is a location at the moment. It's a nuts drop down. So it's the countries are already there. I don't know if there's another need for a list of countries. Maybe we can come back to this question once you saw how the section looks like, and then if you don't find what you need, maybe you can again write the question, and we will try to answer it in the second round of
or ask it in the breakout room.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe I can add that we provide the list of nuts, like the Eurostat list with the system, and we also provide a list of countries that are non-European countries but relevant for the programs. So these are all in down to the level of nuts 3 and can be selected for the location of investment, for partner addresses, fields, etc., etc. Also for program area in the program setup. Maybe this answers the question.
The next one will be there some trainers seminars. We are planning to do some, to start with some video tutorials about what you can do in the system after the first release, and we are thinking about the seminars, but this is nothing decided yet. So in a moment when we will have a plan, we will then also share it with you in the communities, and you will be able then to take part in these seminars. But if you have ideas on how to maybe better do it in these circumstances, then we are open to suggestions as well. Where would the intermediate body be located in the scheme?
Maybe I can have a try on this. I mean, as far as I know, intermediate body is something like a sub body of, for example, a managing authority or of a program authority. And it is maybe dependent on the tasks or the privileges this immediate body should have. And our privilege management intends to be flexible enough that these privileges can be tailored for whatever tasks this immediate body should fulfill in the system and whatever this can see. So it is possible to kind of tailor these privileges.
Yeah, maybe if with intermediate body it was meant national control, for example, then maybe just please the someone who asked the question then just specify if we didn't answer it right. Does GEMS take into account national funding in reporting applications, etc.? Programs are receiving funds from EU and participating countries, e.g. Russia. Peter, would it be?
So at the moment, I think we will also show in the demo, we will show briefly the co-financing as well and show the funds. At the moment, indeed, it's possible to also add other funds than ERDF and even define your own funds. We at the moment, well, you will see it in more detail in the breakout room, maybe, or in the demo. That's maybe easier than to go into really detail what you can see, because it will be shown later on.
Okay. Thank you. Is GEMS compatible with all internet browsers? Jose?
That might be something for Jose or for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marcus, go ahead.
Expect that, I mean, all internet browsers, no, of course. There will always be some browsers that we did not take into account or did not expect. But expect that current versions will generally support the application, and it will work. We will not go down to the level of supporting many legacy versions back. So this is just simply not possible with testing effort. And you can also expect that to a certain extent there might be smaller layered issues or so, but nothing that would impact the core functionality of the system. If you want the specific information on which browser versions exactly or so, either please give us a bit of time, then we can define it in more detail. Or if you need a specific version or a specific browser in a specific version to be supported, because this is, say, the case in your program, then please tell us specifically. Then we can check for this browser and this version in detail and tell you what to expect. But otherwise, yeah, like I said. Thanks. Jose, anything to add, or does that cover?
Yeah, I can add something. Yeah, we know how important is it, but yeah, like Marcus said, it's impossible to cover all the browsers. I mean, we will cover for sure majority of the browsers. We actually have something right now, working on right now with Yuri, where we kind of automate user testing, simulate people in different browsers and so on, and that gives us so far some tools to make a better coverage of that. But it's in our best effort. Let's see, it's our intention.
Do you have plans how Jems shall ensure access to the database with easy reporting in mind, standard and tailored reports to EC, program bodies, MC, etc.? Alex, maybe you or Peter?
Maybe
yes.
me.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it's a more technical question. Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, our first approach is to provide the best API you can get so that you can extract the data in the easiest way and all granular as you want. Then there's another thing that we do it, which is by layers. On the application layer, we for sure we do our best effort to provide the best table so that you don't even have to extract data from the system. But still, I know that all programs are different and so on, and they might need an extra layer for it. We still think, not planned though, that maybe we could follow a bit of approach of EMS, that you could set it up, program some plugin tables, you can design your tables in EMS, or yeah, just connect via external interface via the API and you have everything you want in an external system that you design. That's what we can say. But for sure, it will be easy to extract data from Jems and without going to the database. I mean, database is really the last point you should go for. You know, there's a risk. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You had something, Alex? Or no?
How much of the Jems will have to be translated by the program itself?
Yeah, sorry, everything. Jems will be delivered in English, and there will be translation files provided where the programs then can add their translations. But of course, these files can also be exchanged between programs and copied so that it's easier. And we will also see how programs are doing with this. And we got already a bit of a feedback how to make it more user-friendly or more easier to do the translations. But this is something Interact cannot provide for all the languages needed.
And maybe you can continue with the next one. Will certification be possible for the CA directly in Jems?
Yeah, this is the plan. I mean, being a certifying authority or in future part of managing authorities tasks, but this certification should also be implemented, this feature in Jems.
Thank you. And there is a follow-up question. What is the browser you recommend using? Jose or Marcus then?
I would say Chrome, and for Marcus, Chrome so far is the one
Yeah,
that
same.
we are using for testing, even automatic testing. We you know, because this is about the market share actually. If you see the data, I think maybe I will not give you the latest figures, but Chrome is around 60 or 70% of the world use Chrome. I think this is my, but Marcus, you can.
Let's say in terms of core functionality, I would not, or I'm not aware of any problems right now in either Chrome, Firefox, or Edge. Safari is something we test more rarely, so I cannot guarantee for the last few weeks, but generally, most likely it'll work as well. But still, yeah, main recommendation, Chrome, Firefox. If you choose one of the 1, 2, 3 most common ones, then you should be fine. If it's a recent version as well.
Let me add you something. So basically all the tests which we are doing and part of it automation is oriented on a Chrome. So we can, let's say it's all guaranteed that Chrome will be more or less functional.
Okay, thank you. Will there be some instruction in case if new employee joins program team? Should colleagues guide the new employee through Jems features and how to use Jems? Instructions, we are planning to also release a user manual, as it was also the case with EMS. We know that some programs also did their own user manuals with their specific program installation descriptions. We plan to do some, as I already mentioned, video tutorials that can be used for the new employees who join, but I guess also you will have to make an effort to help your new employees to show the system and explain what the features are and what you can do in the system. So we have some plans on it, but yeah, it will be, I guess, shared responsibility to guide new employees through the system. We are currently under an IT audit, and on our current application, how responsibility would be shared for Jems in case of IT audit, in case of deficiency. Maybe Ivana?
I will have to come back with this. I need to look back what is written in the license agreement, but this will be this kind of responsibilities between programs and Interact or other C2 Vienna will be defined precisely in license agreement. I'm afraid I cannot precisely answer this question, but we can come back to it. Sorry.
We still have 2 minutes for questions, so we can still answer some. 1 minute actually. So maybe the last question then for this session: how will the exports work? Will they be organized by type of information, expenses, calls for funds, etc.? Genia?
Yeah, well, we are still open on this because we still have to kind of collect the requirements for this and what exports will be needed. So this question will be topic in one of the upcoming core group meetings, I would say. But whatever needs you have, we will take on and then kind of implement it in the way that is most feasible or most effective for the programs.
Okay, thank you, Genia. Then I think we can finish with questions for this session. You will still have a chance to raise the questions, and we will end this meeting also with answering questions. Can I ask you, Alex, to maybe shortly introduce what is planned for the next session after the break?
Yes, thank you. So we will now go in a break of 15 minutes, so you can have a bit of time to relax and have a coffee maybe. And then after we come back at 11, we will first start with doing a small demonstration of the system. We will show you mainly the new parts, which were not yet presented in the Milestone 1. So the new features that were added since September. And then we will go to the breakout rooms, as it was already announced, where you will have the possibility to give us direct feedback and to ask further question, or even to test yourself and share your screen if you want. And then we will continue with the next points, which are technical prerequisites, help desk, and so on. And at the end, as Aya said, we will then have again come back to this Slido, so you can continue posing questions, and then we will answer the rest of the questions, which will be collected till then. So have a nice coffee break, and we will meet each other back at 11. Thank you.
See you.
Okay, welcome back everyone. I hope you're back. We see some of you with the videos, but I hope most of you are back. As announced before the break, we would like to start now with the short demonstration of the system. So we will show you the new features for the Milestone 2. And as said, we will then go in breakout rooms. So please collect your questions, collect what you want to see in more detail. And then in the breakout rooms, we will be able to show you more details on specific features and also continue to ask the questions in the Slido. So I would like to start. You see, this is the login page of our test installation. So we are now not using the test installation, which is publicly accessible. We are using our own. So we have prepared some nice data and hope you will like our project and call ideas. So I log in first as a program user to show you the program setup and the calls. So when I log in, I already get to my dashboard and I see all the list of projects which are already in the system. But what I want to show you first is the program setup. So this is the section which was presented already last time in the first milestone review, where you actually have the possibility to define your program data. So this section will usually be stable for almost all the program periods. So you will fill in your program data at the beginning, and only in case you have a kind of amendment of your program, then you would go here and change your data. We showed you last time already some of the basic data and also all the sections where you can define your intervention logic, so your program priorities and specific objectives and indicators, the strategies. And today we would like to show you some new features regarding multi-language in the system. What we had last time was that you could select here the system language. We have already some help with translation. So at the moment in our test installation, we have some German, so we can switch to German, our system, or we also have Hungarian to see how parts of it would look like in Hungarian. And we have English. So this is what we have selected here in the first column. And as you see, we have now here a second column where you can choose your input languages for the application form. So you could decide, for example, to have 3 languages in the system, but for example, maybe your application form only has 2 input languages because you don't request English as an input language. In our case, we did it the same. So we have German, English, and Hungarian as a system language and as an input language for the application form. Maybe because it was a question in the Slido, you have the program funds where you could also add your own fund. So here I could actually add a Russian fund, say what it is about, And then applicants could also use this Russian fund if I then also activate it. So this is a possibility in the system now. The other section which we would like to show today, because it's also new, and this is an important section which many programs will use in the new programming period, is about simplified cost options. So here in the program setup, the program would define the basic simplified cost options that they have designed for the applicants. So this means whenever you design a simplified cost options, you first define it in the program setup, and later you will have the possibility to select from them in the call. So it could also be that you have specific preparation cost lump sum for a specific call, which is different for another call. So then you can make this selection in the call setup. I can maybe show you how the form for lump sum looks like. So for example, here we have a preparation cost lump sum, which covers all costs for preparing the project application. We set the cost to 22,350. And we can also say, do we allow the partners of the application to split this lump sum between them? Or does this lump sum have to be allocated to only one partner, for example, only the lead partner? So here we have this toggle button, yes and no. And then we can say to which phase this lump sum is related, for example, preparation, implementation, or closure, and which cost categories are covered. It was often questioned why we have to have at least 2 cost categories. This is the logic which was agreed in HIT, so that the lump sums which are defined here are actually then a separate cost category in the application form. And the same is for the unit costs, where you also can, for example, here we would have a training for public authorities, and per participant, the project would get 1,285 euros. So this is the form to define these unit costs. When all this is defined in the program setup, the program can go to the call setup and publish the first calls. In this installation, we already have 3 calls published. 1 is already expired and 2 are currently open. And I can show you now, for example, in a draft call, how this would look like. So I have already here in the general call settings, the general information for the call, priorities, strategies, and funds, which we had already in the first milestone. And now we also have the budget settings. So this is the section where, as a first topic, we have the flat rates. Here we have a card to define all the flat rates, which are off the shelf, so from the regulations. And you can decide which ones of those you want to use for your program. For example, you can say that staff costs flat rate in your program is 20%. So it's fixed, the applicant cannot lower it. But you could also say it's up to, so the applicant could also only use 15% staff cost. This might not be applicable for staff costs, but maybe for travel, you have different rates for different countries. Potentially, that's what some programs are thinking about now. So then you would say it's up to, and maybe one country would lower the rate to 10%. So here you can activate whatever options you want to use and save this for your call. And then those will be available in the application form. Here also, as I said, you see the list of lump sums that you have defined in the program setup and can say, okay, I want to use both of them for my call. And maybe regarding the unit costs, you say, okay, I will use this training unit cost, but in this call, all the other unit costs are not applicable. And then you save only 1 unit cost. So this would be how you define your budget settings in a call. But we will now continue to show you the application form with a call which was already published. It's the call 3, which has all the different flat rates and all the lump sums and unit costs activated. So I will now hand over to Peter to show you from an applicant perspective how to enter the system.
Thank you. So I guess you can now see my right screen, the login page. So I will log in as an applicant. And then the first thing I see is the projects I already here submitted. So I actually see that we will be working on this OptiC project 2.0, and I see that my first attempt was ineligible, so they rejected it. So I created a new application to work on and to navigate you through. So really briefly, to give you a bit of context so that you get to better understand the work plan and later on the budget, we just chose a topic. So this OPTCC stands for One Public Transport System in Southeastern Europe, because Alexandra defined the program as a Southeastern Europe program. So this project will also try to increase mobility there and to develop one single system within all these member states. So this is basically the first page, so the summary page of the project, all following HIT, of course, this template. And you can see here that you have these multi-languages. So I could, for example, change the title into German. And if I type something else here, you will see that that the multi-language works. And then we have a partner section. I will skip that for now, but we'll mainly show you, of course, the new features that have been developed up to now. So I will show you the work plan. So one of the features that I already showed really briefly is this multi-language feature. So you have different input languages, and then the system language that Alexandra explained, you can find here again. So same for programs, and you could change everything, for example, here to German. So now you see that the system language changes to German, but that the input language, for example, stays on Hungarian. And that is useful probably for a consultant. If a consultant only understands one language, you could set everything to English and then work in the other languages where he has to provide the text if he gets this from other applicants. So to go into the work plan, we expanded the work packages a lot. So I will open an example. So we drafted a work package 3, which is about building additional kilometers or railways across border, and it's about the construction of 500 kilometers highway. So we will add an investment here. So we now also have investments. You saw a lot of new tabs. So the investment would be then this construction of the railroad. And then here you could answer all the questions that are identified by HIT, and also in multiple languages if needed. So I'm just putting some random text to give you an indication. Here you have these drop downs that were indicated for the investments. So you would first choose a country, and then you can choose a NUTS2 region that is linked to that country, and then a region. And then you could define the address, basically the location of the investment. And then there are other questions relating to risks, investment documentation, etc. And that's all according to HIT, also about maintenance. So once this is done, you can go back to the work plan overview and back to work package 3, and you see now that there's one investment called 3.1. The numbering is related to the work package, the first number, and then a running number. And this can then later on be chosen. We could also add some activities. So we could say that there is also maybe an activity to engage with railroad companies. And you could say that this activity lasts from one period to another period. And these are the periods that we also briefly answered in the Slido question. So there is a duration indicated in section A, and the program identifies a period duration, which here is chosen to be 6 months. And then the project gets cut into these periods. So here you could, for example, say, well, this first activity lasts from period 1 to period 2, which is then the duration of this one activity. And you could also add deliverables linked to this activity. So say, for example, 20 meetings organized with railroad companies, and this should be delivered by the end of the activity. So that is how you could define the entire work plan. You can add more. When drafting, you can also remove some. You can also discard changes and save changes. And then the new edit mode, as you see, is that there's no more edit buttons, because before we used to have edit buttons for every section. But now when you are drafting the application form, it's very intuitive, because as soon as you click into a cell, immediately you go into edit mode and it asks you to save and change. So it's easier for an applicant to fill in. And we could also fill in a final output for this work package. And also, of course, all these sections can be done multi-language. So for example, 10 new cross-border connections. And you can choose an output indicator for that as well. and fill in the amount of kilometers, for example, and a period and a description. So that's very briefly to give you a little example. We also have project results, which is new. I see that there's already one. And I could add there a second project result. So I could say the indicator is related to transport. So here are all the indicators defined by the program, saying the annual number of passengers. I can add a description so that we want to increase the number of passengers. And this is measured. The measurement unit is also defined by the program. So the program here identified that the passengers are measured as kilometers per year. So how much kilometers per year one passenger will travel. So we could say that this was 1,000 kilometers per year, and we expect this to increase to 2,000. So we could say 2,000, and this will be done by the end of the project in the last period. So that's how you define a result. So this was really briefly about how to fill in a part of the content that we worked on since the previous milestone. But then, of course, I would also like to fill in finance. But for that, I would like to ask my finance expert, Alexander, who is now the finance expert, to fill in the budget section and to help me create value for money for these activities. So I'll hand the floor back to Alexander.
Thank you, Peter. So I will go back to my system. And now I log in as an applicant. So I have my applicant login. And I go to this project, which was already drafted by Peter. And I would now like to fill in the budget for the project. So the budget is to be found in the partner section. So you can actually, in the partner overview, directly assess the budget of each partner. So I can, for example, go first to the lead partner and start filling in some budget. As you see here, I now have the budget options, the flat rates, which we selected in the call. So I have this, for example, staff costs, 20%, and I can on top add the office and administration cost of 15%. And as soon as I save these selections, I already have these flat rates here, which are now at the moment still 0 because I have no basis for calculating this flat rate because I have so far added no other costs in the budget of this partner. But then I can go and say maybe, okay, this partner will have a study done by an external expert. We also have additional columns of the HIT, which will be later possible to hide them if your program doesn't want to the applicants to fill in award procedure, investment or unit type. And then here I have to indicate the price. So I say this one is 20,000 euros. I have one study and then it calculates the total of 20,000 euros. And based on this, automatically the system calculates my staff cost flat rate and my office and administration flat rate based on the staff costs. I can, of course, also add, for example, some investment in infrastructure and works, some railway investment. And here I could also then say, okay, this one is related to this investment number that Peter has created in the work package section. So I say, okay, this is related to investment 1 in work package 3, and I will invest here maybe 50,000 euros. Okay, so 50,000, 50 would not be enough probably. So 50,000. Then of course the system counts together the 50,000 with the 20,000, so 70,000, and based on this calculates the 20% staff cost flat rate as 14,000. So all this works automatically. Different partners could now choose different SEOs, different, for example, the partner 2 uses this other cost flat rate, 40% of staff cost. So in this case, the partner has only the staff cost table to be filled in. We already pre-filled it. So here he has planned 50,000 euros and automatically the 40% are calculated here, but he has no other tables to add anything, other costs. Then, for example, another partner uses a combination of flat rates similar to the lead partner. And we can also add unit costs. So here, for example, this partner also uses flat rates, but he can on top use unit costs covering more than one cost category. These are the ones we defined in the program setup. So here I add another unit cost. And for example, in this project, I could, for example, do in Hungary a local dissemination event. The program defined that this covers the cost per participant and that I get 450 euros per participant. So maybe here I say, okay, I plan to have 60 participants in my local event, and this would amount to 27,000 euros. So quite a big event. Then, of course, all these costs which I plan for the single partners can be also seen here in this overview table. So you would see the cost the lead partner has planned under the different budget categories, the cost categories, as they're now called in the new period. You can see here also this flat rate for other costs or the unit costs, which were selected by this Hungarian partner here. And then what we still didn't define is the lump sums. So this is also a separate section here because they are defined on a project level. So if I go here, I can add a lump sum for the project. As we saw in the program setup, we have in this example, for example, preparation costs. Here I can then select for which period. So this would be usually allocated to preparation, of course. So here I also have an info bubble to see, okay, what is meant by this. Then I have here that this is not splittable. So I can also see here if split up is no, allocate the total lump sum to one project partner. Okay, so this means only one project partner gets the full 22,000, so 350. So then I allocate it to the lead partner. And then I can save. And I see that actually all the other partners have 0 and I have a sum here. So to see that also there's no gap. We presented this already on Tuesday in the sprint review, and maybe just to show you how also this agile process works. So we got a feedback that this table is not so well done because you cannot see very well what is the gap or the sum for partners and so on. So our developers already improved it, and I hope you can now see quickly how it will look in the future. So this was just deployed 20 minutes ago. So now we added here, for example, this yellow info text so that if this doesn't match, for example, here I have only allocated 5,000 euros instead of 9,000 planned. So then it informs me that there is actually still this gap and I have to correct it to make it actually work. So I will here allocate the right amount. And then you see the yellow would disappear from that line, and then I see that there's no more gap. So you see, this is also a nice thing. We got a feedback that something is not good in the system, and immediately we could inform our development team and bring forward this requirement to improve the usability. Yeah, and with this, I think I can close this presentation, maybe just to show you again the overview table. We see here now the lump sum added to the lead partner. And if we are happy with all our activities planned and the budget, we can go to the overview page and submit our project application. So I will hand back to Peter if he wants to add something.
I could really briefly show that it is submitted as a program user. So as a program user, if I log in, you can see here, let me refresh because I already logged in. Now you see that it's submitted. So then I can, as a program user, also return to the applicant or assess it. And this is already what we've shown before. So I will not go into detail that unless that's a question in the breakout room, then of course I can show it there. So I would propose that we go now to the breakout rooms, and then I assume that the kind of demo always leads to a lot of questions or curiosities. So then we can discuss there in more detail. The breakout rooms will be quite large, but I'm sure we will treat all your questions. If not, you can always post them in Slido and we treat them at the end. So if questions remain unanswered, please post them into Slido. We were cut off halfway.
Yeah, sorry for that. Time was limited. Yeah, as Peter said, if there are still questions that were not answered, please write them in Slido and we will answer them at the end of the meeting. There are some already questions that were answered by us. Please check it out because we will not take them further for the session that will follow technical prerequisites. Now I would like to hand over to Jose and Yuri, who will introduce you with technical prerequisites of the system.
Just a second. We're already here.
Yes, I'm live. Okay, sorry, there was a technical issue. Okay, so here we are, technical prerequisites. So this is the part of the presentation. We go a bit, not much, a bit IT technical, but not that much. In this part of the presentation, I'm going to show you some achievements we have done in Interact since the milestone 1. So we will talk about the installation of Jems. We will talk also a bit of quality control, you know, how do we control, how do we mitigate bugs in the software. Some performance tests we did as well, and at the last, the help desk. So in the last milestone, we provide you these system requirements, which was a bit risky though, because as you know, the software is all the time evolving, and we cannot for sure tell you that this machine would be enough. And right now we are more sure about it because we did some tests. But in order to validate that, we kind of did an exercise with ourselves where we dress ourselves as a program. We impersonate the program, a program as you are, and we followed the procedure how to have Jems. So the first step was actually do the procurement of the server with these system requirements. And we have the server, actually, the system. And we went for the next step with the brand new server, completely clean. We went for the installation of the Jems there. And nothing better than starting by reading the instructions of the installation, which is now available in the Interact communities. You can read it if you didn't still, or actually if you don't have, I think, yeah, you always need a user in Interact communities. You should always register there. I think we say this 2 times per event. It's quite important if you belong to the community, you have all this information there. So we went through the installation instructions where they state that it will be delivered in the form of a zip file. Jems will be a binary jar inside of that. There are 2 files there. One is the Jems server itself. It's a binary jar. It's just a executable format, a file, which is the Jems server, and another file that we call it Docker Composer file. So in our case, where we have our completely empty server, we decided to execute this Docker Composer file, which is kind of interesting. It's a file that contains all instructions to set it up, all kind of components and dependencies that Jems requires. And we run that file and automatically, I don't know how to say better than that, you know, automatically creates all the set it up everything. And it's quite easy now. We have Jems running pretty much in a few comments. Still, this might not be the solution for all programs. We actually had the opportunity to talk with one program. I mean, we had the opportunity to join a meeting with the program which were in talks with the candidate for IT provider. Yeah, in that case, they told us that they were not able to do such thing to go for this Docker Composer file, and it's still okay, because I think they don't allow, they have their own security policies. You know, data centers are all different. They have different infrastructures, different security policies, but still Jems is a very standard application. If you cannot do it with Docker, you can just do it manually. The IT provider, any IT provider, I think it's capable to find the best suitable installation way. So in this case, for this provider, they would need to install system by system. That means the database Mariah, the mini IO separately in their own way, and then the Jems, and make sure the configurations of the components point to Jems and everything like that manually, instead of the Docker, which makes all the things in automatic way. Yeah, so at this moment we had our installed Jems in the server, and Jems was running, but was running as an app. And there's a difference between an app and a service, you know, because as in your computer, when you have an app, an application running, what happens is that if there's a, I don't know, a cutoff of the energy and your computer is turned off, when you turn it on, the app is gone. You have to run it again, right? But if you have it set up as a service, you don't have that problem. You know that when you turn it on, automatically Jems is running again. And this is important for such a web application for Jems. So if there's some kind of maintenance in the data center or any kind of intervention, you don't have to worry, because it will be transparent. You know, interventions sometimes are done during the late night, 3, 4 a.m. And when the server comes up, the Jems will be, you know, during the morning, it's up as if nothing happened. The setup of the Linux service is also there, as part of the instructions as well. Another thing was about quality control. I want to talk. There was some achievements here during this last milestone. You know, no one likes bugs. And when I say no one, devs, Interact for sure, programs, no one. So it's a kind of a measure we have to take here. So far, what we have done, it's, you know, is doing it manually, where during the development, everyone does it, everyone that, you know, when the software is developed, the first person on our side go for it manually, check if the feature is well implemented and so on. And from that, we go to the sprint reviews that you might participate. You might also do your tests and so on manually. And I'm thankful that a lot of programs of you report to us. But still, it's something that it might not be sustainable, in the sense that as the software evolves, everything gets more complex, more possibilities of configuration, and it's something that we will not be able, I mean, as humans, not be able to cover all the test cases, right? And for that, we need machines, because machines do it a lot of tests in a very fast way, and there's no other way to go other than automate some part of the test. And for this automation of the testing, we start doing it and we need something like a powerful API from Jems, which we actually have. This API will allow us to create, like, you know, less than a second, 500 users or projects, you know, all these things that manually you would take months. We just on the fly create all these kind of scenarios and all the data we need for starting the testing itself. And another thing is actually we achieved was automating, let's say, a human interaction. We can say a bot or a virtual applicant, which do it like it does in the browser. We simulate the clickers of certain buttons. So we pretty much simulate the sequence of since the login to submission of the project. So it's the standard behavior doing the application. You know, for the standard behavior, I mean, sequence of actions, for the submission of a project. And if during this virtual applicant, let's call it, he will not achieve the submission of a project, okay, we found an error in the meantime. You know, as software is developing and so on, it might happen that the new feature is not allowing him to, I don't know, submit to some file, or, and then we catch up these things. Based also on this achievement of having this virtual applicant, we went also for the performance testing, where we multiply this applicant by 3,000, okay? So we pretty much create an army of applicants to test it in the worst case, where we have like 3,000 applicants all together at one point doing the application. Just exactly the same sequence as I showed it. And what we measured was that the system Jems had the inline expectation. It completely fulfilled our expectations in terms of performance. So 3,000 of applicants, they did successfully with no timeout or any kind of nature of error, you know, in the system in 4 minutes, 36 seconds. Yeah, a lot of data was transferred. This was done between two machines, of course. We could not simulate so many applicants in the laptop. Yeah, I will now pass the word to my colleague, Yuri, who's gonna present you the help desk.
Thank you. So let me share my screen. If you can mute yourself, it would be good. So. So I hope you can see it, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, thank you very much for your joining. I would like to tell about one thing. So basically, it's a kind of achievement which we got for last month. This is basically a part of a service support for a Jems. And with this presentation, I would like to give you some short review regarding the implementation for support services. So at the moment, we have a so-called help desk service, which allows us to provide support for Jems users. And it's also not only the thing which is currently possible, because it also gives us a good opportunity to share the knowledge between users and collect feedbacks. I would like to mention also that this part of information has been already shared with a short list of users who has volunteered as users who wants to participate in a service testing. And if you have a chance, and if you have a wish after this presentation, you can also inform us about this by the mail to be registered in the system. So let me continue with the features and the main audience of the help desk. So basically, the main audience for help desk is system administrators and the program users who would potentially report some issues with the system, and who would like to communicate with a help desk, with a help desk support. So basically with us, with two of us. Actually saying, for a moment, we have a possibility to do several things on a help desk. We can search for existing articles if they are in a system. We can go through the library manually if it is needed. So basically, we can check for existing articles, what we have been published. And we can create tickets on the system if you have no chance to find actual information on the help desk. So at the moment we can do several things after you have got the registration. So we have so-called support center, which is actually gives an opportunity to report an issue, ask question, or provide some sort of ideas. So support means that you would need to have some support of installation or update of a system or configuration of it. Idea is a point of a ticket or a type of a ticket when you want to report some good enhancements for a system. Of course, if you can see some issues or some bugs with a system, then we still can use our help desk, which will help you to report this, and then we will get a short notice that some issue has happened. And of course, some questions which are not really related to the technical points, but more or less related to the workflows or business business questions. So what should happen after the ticket creation, and how does this procedure go? So basically we have to do 3 simple steps as a help desk user. So you will need to specify mandatory fields which are a type of a ticket, and I have mentioned that there are 4 types at the moment: is a support, idea, bug, and question. And then you need to provide the body of the message and upload attachment if it is needed. After you did all these activities, you can see that your ticket would appear in the list of help desk, where you can track a status of a ticket, and where you can actually continue the discussion with us. So the main point of the help desk is also that help desk provides you an opportunity to communicate with support. So in case if you want to extend the ticket with some additional information, or you want to upload some screenshots, or you want to upload some attachments, you have a chance to do it. And that would allow you to track all the discussion. Besides that, as I have mentioned before, we have a chance, or we have attention to share some topics between the programs. So basically, we would have ability to share the groups, so-called groups, where we will share good ideas, and all you guys who would be registered in the help desk would be able to see these ideas and collaborate and discuss these topics within the specific created ticket. And then if this idea would make sense, we will turn it to the article, and it would be also published on a help desk environment. So actually, you would be mostly interested regarding the status of your ticket and how soon we will react on it. We are supporting the tickets as soon as possible based on our current load. So that means that as soon as it will arrive, we will need to spend, of course, some time to analyze it and update it. So, and that way you would be able to track a status based on 2 things. One of a dashboard you can easily load, log into the help desk service, and then you would see the status change and all the ongoing discussion regarding the ticket. Or basically you will be notified by the mail. So you will have every single time when you will have an answer, or if you will have a status of update of your ticket, you will get a mail, short mail notification. So actually, for us, it would be really beneficial if you will request registration and continue further communication and questions regarding the Jems via help desk. Because when we can track it and we can register all the topics, and then we can easily convert them to the issues in our internal system to continue the development. And actually, if you're interested in how does it look like, you can scan this QR code, or you can open the URL, which is mentioned below, to see the help desk system. And if you want to participate in the help desk, you are always welcome to drop a mail to our mailbox, where you will need to specify some additional information, which is actually mentioned in one of the articles located in the helpdesk interact.net. Sorry. So this is all about the things which I would like to deliver about help desk. Thank you.
Thank you, Yuri. Now we can go back to the questions and answers sessions. If you also have questions regarding the IT prerequisites, then also write them in a Slido and we will answer them from there. Please note that those questions that we already answered were archived in order not to repeat the answers again in the plenary. But all answers will be also provided to you as an attachment to the follow-up email. So we can start with the questions we have in Slido. And the first one is, what if the partner is entitled to recover VAT partially? e.g. some Slovenian partners from room 1. I guess it was not answered, so we will gladly take a chance to answer it. Kenya?
Well, it's a difficult question. The question is maybe whether the partner is entitled to recover VAT from the project activities he's undertaking. I just speak out of experience with Slovak member state, and also there we formulated the question like this, because an organization can for certain activities recover VAT and for another one not, and we just decided to ask for whether this is really for the project activities recoverable or not. I'm not sure if this answers the questions. If not, then we have to come back to this probably.
Maybe the one who raised this question can bring some clarity so we can investigate further.
I think Valentina from Trion program.
Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, actually, it wasn't my question. It was asked by my colleague, Marco Zecchinato. So I don't know if he's hearing now at the moment. I would ask him to.
Yeah, no, actually, we just experienced this kind of answer from some partners in our program. So even inside within the activities that these partners were implementing the program, they were entitled to recover VAT only in certain cases. And so I saw before that the answer is only yes or no, but in EMS before they were able to write yes partially. So also the first level controllers and all the audit bodies knew these possibilities. So it was just this.
Okay. Claudia, you raised the hand. Is it to add something to this question? Or?
Yes, because I just I have the Interact, the HIT application form open. It's the one from June. And here it also says that it's still to be confirmed. So whether it's yes, no, or partially. So maybe there's more knowledge in the meantime.
Okay, thank you. Then the next question, will it be possible to filter contacts, e.g. to export all necessary contacts for a specific call? Jose, I think it's maybe
yeah,
you.
I can answer. Will it be possible? That means in the future, yes, because right now it's not. But, you know, we are aware that programs want data from the system. And our first step is to provide an API for that. But the API might not fulfill all program requirements because some programs, as we know, they don't have IT capacity to use the API. And we kind of understand that. I think it's something we are aware. How could we make programs extract whatever they want from the system without IT technical capacity? I mean, it's always a big question. We are aware of that, and we are still figured it out somehow, some third-party application or even embedded in the Jems where we can make that easier. But yeah, it's still a bit far right now from it.
Maybe to go back to the previous question, because I see there's still discussions going on in the chat. Yeah, also the December version is yes, no, partly. So we will discuss this with HIT and see what will be confirmed. And indeed, if this is the case, we will add this partly feature, of course.
Thanks, Peter. The next question is from Claudia. How will the monitoring workflow be documented, like data from audit log extracted and presented nicely for the program user with the possibility to add info?
Maybe I can have a start on this. Yes, currently we have the audit log that more or less provides the full documentation of all the important status changes and changes in the system. However, we also have introduced this section for application lifecycle next to an application or a project. And here you just currently see an overview when it has been submitted first time, when the project has been resubmitted lately, what is the current status, what are the results of the assessment, but of course with implementation of next steps such as contracting, reporting, etc. This will be growing, this section, and we will then also consider, of course, the program's needs, what should be displayed there as a short and concise overview. That, I mean, also the audit log is quite customizable, and we should probably provide some guidance on this because it's not like visible on first glance, but you can also filter and by time and by whatever project and user. But this is more or less the full repository, and we will transfer the most valuable information into the front end.
Okay. Thanks, Genia. Peter, Alex, do you want to add something or we continue? Okay. Would the help desk be also open to an IT service provider selected by a program? Yuri or Jose?
Originally, actually, our help desk aimed to the system administrators or program users who are involved or actually located on the side of a program. But we can actually discuss this point because there was also somehow related topic from one of the programs.
Okay, thank you. The next question, contact list. It would be helpful to have the info on the project status to sort exported information in Excel. I think it sounds like a suggestion more than question. Genia, maybe you can comment on this.
Yeah, maybe we need a discussion on this, what to export, and yeah, it is a suggestion. We take note of this. I'm not fully understanding you want to what do you want to print, the contacts from one project or the contacts from a list of projects? I think we need details on this.
Actually, my question, or suggestion, we use the contact list actually to create email distribution lists, and it would be really helpful in preparation of seminars for our project partners to be able to have this information available more easily.
Thank you, noted.
Yeah, noted down.
Yeah, next question, should the investment be specified also as an activity in order to have tool for monitoring reporting period? Peter or Alex?
Yeah, I mean, this is maybe also a question to HIT, I guess, because it's a bit how the template was designed and what is the purpose of the different sections and how they relate then to the reporting. We would need to look into, we are not yet in the reporting phase of our Jems development, so we need to look into what is there in the reporting for investments. Otherwise, I guess you could also define an investment in addition as activity, but maybe then HIT colleagues can better advise you on how to use the template in this sense or how it was discussed in the HIT core group.
To relate a bit to the discussion we had in the breakout room that for the investments for the moment being, there's no duration, no start, no end date defined.
Yeah, as said, the investments were designed based on the On the template.
Template, yeah, and in the
and
template,
in the template there were many questions. Yeah, there were not even a real form, so we just implemented the questions for now. There can be more agreements on how to specify investments or in the report, then of course this will be also implemented.
Yeah.
But I think it first has to be agreed in the HIT group, and then.
Yeah.
Peter, you want to add something?
I think that is sufficient. I think HIT is working on this as well, on the reporting models at the moment. So yeah, that's it, I think.
We also, I think, have HIT colleagues here participating. If you have any input, please just go ahead then answering. Okay, then the next one, do you already know how request for payment to European Commission and annual accounts will look like? What data will this functionalities contain? Very early question, but Genia, maybe you can.
I don't know.
Maybe we just explain how the agile works.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it depends on
start.
what the requirements are from SFC database, and we will try to link it. But this will come, the development will come, yeah, later this year.
Do we need to have an have in the team ID specialist in order to use Jems? Jose, we have it already described, but maybe you can briefly explain.
Well, I don't know if they don't need to have, you know, they could go for the IT provider, which gives the same, I would say, level of service, but you know, they are distinct service. I don't know how to say, but this is a management decision. I think having someone in the team, it's someone more reachable, something that they can achieve in a fast, in a very short period of time, you know, some small customization or something that's pretty much done in the same day. If they go for an IT provider, things might get more formal based on requests. Then it depends about the contract as well. Ratings, I don't know. This is something that every program has to do their own exercise, find out what is the best for them. I think all programs are different. I really cannot do a suggestion here. So.
Okay, thank you, Jose. The next one, in the past, there were problems with rounding of numbers, sums in connection with reporting to the European Commission. Is this fixed? I think, Alex, you are now the rounding expert in our team.
Is it fine if I talk in the same room as Aya?
Let's try.
Okay. We are working on rounding with the core group. We are again having a meeting next week to discuss rounding and to look into it. The main idea is to avoid rounding as much as possible, so to do it at the latest point possible. And whenever we round, then we also store the rounded amount, and we don't continue calculating with an amount which is not rounded while displaying already rounded amounts. So this is the strategy at the moment. But of course, as soon as we have new sections in the system, we will always look into this issue again. And we are in close contact with the core group and everybody who can contribute to this topic. But reporting to EC is also something which will come a bit later. So that's why maybe I cannot say something concrete on this question now.
May I just request, please, that whoever posted that question, when you say there was a problem in connection with reporting to EC, was that something because the expectation or the requirements on EC side were different than what the system provided? So is it something where the rounding was erroneous, or is it something where the rounding just followed different, say, rules and structures than would have been needed? So that would be important to know. Thank you.
That was my question, and I think the problem was that we had to report with a different amount of numbers after the comma. So I think there was where the problem of rounding occurred.
Okay. That's good to know. Thank you.
As SFC, probably how many digits they allow after the comma to be in line with that requirement.
Okay, thanks, Marcus. Thanks, Alex. The next question, is it possible to map an ongoing application in Jems, or is Jems only designed for calls?
I can maybe do the next two if they don't change. So the next one, it is indeed possible to have ongoing calls. I assume that you mean ongoing application that projects can always apply in an ongoing call. And it's simply that you can create one call which has a really late end date, and you could have a continuous call. So you can decide the start and end date of a call, and if you do this for the entire program duration, you will have an ongoing call, and projects can always apply. And then for the next
question, if you don't mind, Peter.
Oh, yeah, sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Take it on, and also maybe include Greg in our answer, because he's actually dealing with the state aid template that is developed by HIT. So we would stick to the logic that was designed by the state aid template from HIT. And I think there it's now in this period not planned to distinguish between activities. Maybe
yes, that's
Greg,
correct.
you can.
Yeah, that's correct, Alex. I mean, there is like a decision that actually there will be like a possibility to choose different schemes from the JIBA. However, let's say the co-financing will be set on the level of the partner. So meaning that actually, because also this, let's say, idea goes in line with the current amendments of the JIBA, and actually, and there's still not the introduction of the new Article 20 for amended Article 20 for JIBA, that allows, let's say, for most of the programs to, let's say, to deal with the state aid under the Article 20 JIBA. However, still the other schemes will be also possible, but following that logic, meaning actually that the co-financing rate will be, let's say, set on the partner level. So there will be no possibilities of changing of the different co-financing rates on the activities level, exactly as you said, Alex.
Okay, thank you both. The next question, is it suggested to ask a question to the help desk instead of the community? And what is the practical difference between them, since users can interact in both of them? Yuri, maybe you can start and then I add.
Well, yeah, so basically all the questions, I think what is related to the Jems would be good to have in a help desk, so we can organize them and structure them, combine them to specific programs, and we can orchestrate all these topics and questions in one place. And then we can, for instance, decide if some topics related to good ideas, so we can share that for all the programs. So since this is a tool which is aimed on a specific topic to the Jems, then I think that it is a good place to keep all discussions related to the Jems in one place. So Aya, please add.
Yeah, and so communities is also the platform where we are interacting with the users, where we are informing about the activities we are doing. And if there are some questions from you, they might easily get lost because of the structure of the communities. So if to have better overview and follow up and transparency of the ideas and feedback that you provide, we would suggest that you use for this the help desk. The next question, will be possible to export data in HTML format? Jose? Or
Will it be
Yuri?
possible to export data? I mean, directly like that, we don't have. It's the first time I hear about such requirement. I mean, in EMS, we have this export of XML that was used for keep, and it can be that we will also export for keep in XML format. But the first question that comes to my mind is what data? I mean, everything, or I think I already mentioned about exporting data from the system. It's something that we are aware of it. It can be done via API, RESTful API. From that API, you can convert to any data then. It could be XML or JSON or who knows, CSV.
Thanks, Jose.
Wait a second. Massimo, could you get in contact with us afterwards and explain maybe what is the specific use case and where it would be needed to have that option directly?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe you wanted to comment, Massimo.
Yes, not because now at the moment we communicate data to our certifying authority, and that's the reason of the question. We communicate data concerning the project structure, I mean the partner and the budget, and further on concerning the certifying authority, managing authority certificates, sorry. So we transmit all the data to certifying authority in order to let the payment done. And then we have, actually, I forgot to put in the question that if there is the possibility to import data from the certifying authority, because when we have the data from coming from the external users, let's say, we will have to track on our information system.
Can I have a word on that, Marcus, if you don't mind? That's exactly the point of API, you know?
Okay.
So that we can, this API will allow you not only to extract the data, for in your case of to CA, whoever, in the format that you want. And also the API would allow to interact with the gems, right? So that after you process some data with the external system, CA, you can also do that injection of data, process data into gems from the API as well. Of course, it's needless to say that you need the IT capacity to develop this interface between systems, but that's something the API is there for about. It's to allow this interaction with other applications.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, can users disable the animations? Someone finds most animations distracting and disable them on anywhere I can. I'm unsure whether it's up to browser or operating system setting.
We're not planning to offer an option like that inside the system. What I can promise you, though, is that we'll do our best to keep animations to a minimum, as in none of us is a fan of using that for effect only or so. We'll use them, we'll reduce the amount as much as we can and only use those where we think they actually add something to the understanding of the system and are not something that would delay you in your work or have any negative impact as far as we can say.
Thank you, Marcus. The next one is in the contact tables that can be exported, will there be a correlation between a contact and the call that her project was accepted? It would be very useful.
Okay, we take this on. Yeah, there was also the wish to link the contacts to a project status, and as soon as a contact is linked to a project, it is also through the project linked to a call. But this is really a discussion we will have to lead then also once we decide what kind of lists and sorting we will be providing. Yeah. But we make a note of it.
Thanks, Genia. And then two left questions are, one is the feature for uploading translation files already available in the current Jems test version? And if not, is it planned to be added? Jose, translation files? Or Peter?
Is the feature for... No, it's not. You cannot do like that. I mean, right now what we have, it's the most basic form. It's actually a file in the system. So if you want to do translations, is basically put more files in the system and go to the program setup, or you can indicate to go to what files, like what language, in that way. Of course, we have a lot of things in plan to make the process easier. It's in the pipeline. When is it planned? I mean, for sure there will be something that I cannot, right now at this point of time, I cannot tell you in months. That's it. I can go for the next one. Okay, maybe
Kenny, maybe
wants to say
prioritization. So maybe that's a question also to you.
Yeah, I mean, yes, we provided first the translation files, and then we see how programs are doing. And if this is not practicable for them, we will think about extending this translation function somehow or make it more user-friendly.
Thank you. And the last question, does Jems run on Linux distribution other than CentOS?
Sure, it runs. Actually, it even runs in Windows.
We have no limitations, actually. The only thing that we did our pure test on CentOS, so it's why we can guarantee that it will run on it. And we have some, like, so we prepared for some support, and we know some hidden issues which can potentially appear during the usability and installation of Jems on the CentOS. Regarding the rest of operation system of Linux, for instance, I am not quite sure.
Okay.
Just to add, Yuri, if you don't mind to mute. You know, I always present things in the form of recommendations, recommended system requirements, for instance, for the machines and so on. It doesn't mean it really has to be like that. You know, you can always go through maybe better ways. For us, this was the way that we can tell you that works for sure. We will never say that don't do that way or no. This is only, as we communicate, it's the way that we can assure that the Jems works, the software works well, it's tested under these conditions. But you can always go in any other way. It just applies to many things, even the browsers, you know. We know that we test in Chrome, but we also test in others, but you can try it by yourself, other browsers that your organization use, and maybe they work better than Chrome, who knows? Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Jose. I think this is the follow-up question. No, I think I just deleted it. So it was about animations that
yeah, the sliding animations were not, there was not seen the value of them.
Yeah, for the tabs.
For the tabs in the partner section, for example.
I get it.
Sorry, technical issue. And we have one more from Niku. All the data exported should be part as user management in order to keep the track of this information according to the GDPR. I guess it's a suggestion or note, not really a question.
Yeah, I think we know we had this issue also in the current system in EMS, that you have to be careful who extracts data and what data he can then see. For example, if it's expenditure, then that no stuff names are there, or rates of specific people and so on. Yeah. So we for sure need to, once we get to the extraction of data, be careful who can extract what. Thanks for the comment.
Okay, I think we are done with the questions that were posted in Slido. If you still have some questions, we can also just answer them here in a plenary, because we still have like 12 minutes by the end of the meeting. So if you have any input, feedback, maybe still questions, then this is the time now when you can use it to ask it. Any feedback, comments?
Yeah, you will also get the evaluation form of the event, of course, and we would be very happy if as many of you as possible would fill it in. so we get some written feedback as well.
Feedback how to do it in the future, and maybe there are some parts where we can improve our communication towards you, and yeah, in general comments.
Maybe I can ask a question, because I was the one with the question on the translation feature, because I'm lacking imagination how this translation file looks like and how it will get into the system. Maybe you can share maybe what it, I'm so curious just to know how it looks like. Maybe you can share it.
Yeah, maybe I can say that we were currently testing it with one core group member. So Csaba from Austria-Hungary program was so nice to test it for us as a first user. And we also tested for German ourselves. At the moment, it's just a simple file, a text file, like a properties file. So you can open it, for example, in Notepad or in any text editor. And you simply see a key which gives you a direction where in the system this text is displayed. For example, it will be program setup and the specific section. And then you would see the text. And you would simply, for the moment, replace this text with your translation. And then once you have the file in the system, you can switch to this language and you would see at that place of this text, your text in your language. But we already got the feedback that, of course, this is not a very user-friendly way of doing it. We already got some hints where specific tools would be needed or user interface to support this translation. And as Jose said, there are many ideas how to best implement it. But if you're interested, of course, we can share with you this file and how it looks at the moment. And maybe you also want to help us test it and give us feedback. That would be good.
Okay, I can do so, because I found it very handy also for translating a few terms only or something like this, uploading. Will there be an upload function from the user side, or how does the file get into the system?
Yeah, this is something where I think Yuri and Jose are looking into how this could be done. Because at the moment, we need to give it to our development team to include it in the installation. So you cannot upload it at the moment in the user interface, but this is also something they look into. Yeah, it's one of the possibilities.
Just to make sure, development team in this case means that if you have your instance or hosting your own instance, so this does not mean you have to go through us. This just means you need it in your to copy it to your running instance.
Yeah. So at the moment, as we have
actually, you have to restart it.
Yeah. So at the moment, of course, we could only test it in our test environment that we have installed. But as Marcus said, as soon as you have your own installation and your license and your own installation, then you could add the file before you install your own installation. Yeah. But we would like to test it also. That's why we started this test run with Hungarian language, also to see a bit how the different languages look in the system, because of course they have different character lengths, or the text might be very different in some cases.
If I may just add this shortly, if you get the translation file, as Alexander told, it is a text file, simple, editable file, then what you have to take care to look at the tags which indicate where the text part is in the system, so that you know the context. This needs some close attention, but I hope that there will be further developments in it so that it will become easier to do it. But whenever you change the text to your chosen language, so you take, let's say, the English version as the source, make a copy of it, and you translate the copy. You just send the text file to the Interact team, and they very quickly react and upload it to the test environment so that you can see what you have done, how it fits. I think it's already a big thing that you can have it in a different language, and if usability improvements will come, it will definitely had.
Yeah, thank you for the comment. And thank you for testing it. This is for volunteering to do this effort.
We also received an example from Aleš in the chat, how translation is done. So you have a kind of a variable name or a key, and then after the equal sign, you enter the translation. And the key should also be rather speaking, or is made rather speaking, so that it's understandable what is meant or which part in the system it is. Of course, it's always the challenge to retrieve if there are similar information in different places, then you maybe have to test and upload again if it's not properly translated.
There was in the chat another question. Can the API already be used to create tests for export, for example?
Yeah, sure. The API is always and always have been up and running. That's what allows the browser to communicate with our server. You can right now use it to extract data or whatever.
Depends what sort of data actually you need, because yeah, it's also
I mean,
in
it
current
can
implementation.
Are there still any questions? If you think of some after the meeting, you know where to find us. Those who were not, who noted in registration that you are not part of Jems community, we will invite you to join the community, and then in your email, when you get this invitation, you can accept it, and then you will be part of this big community where we inform also participants on Jems activities. I guess we can then close the meeting. I would ask Ivana to say a few words because she was the one opening the meeting, and would be nice if you also close it.
Thank you, Aya. Yes, well, I at least gather a lot of information, even though I follow this daily. But I hope you have as well. And thank you for all the feedback. Many things will be still discussed also with HIT, not just with Jems team. But really thank you also for active participation. And I will just maybe repeat what Aya said. You can contact us at any point. You have the general email address, jems@interact-eu.net. For a moment, I forgot our emails. And the community is there, of course. And yes, the questions that maybe still, some questions need to be followed up. Some of them are related to license agreement, and in fact, just an hour ago we got the final draft, so we will have something ready by end of January as promised. So this part we can also tick as done. And yes, so thank you everybody for participating, for staying with us until the end. Thank you to the team for preparing this, and also thank you to the Cloudflight, who I forgot to mention at the beginning as a part of the bigger team, but of course we take you as a part of the team. And yes, if there's anything you still want to talk to us, we are always here, working full time, no matter what, nothing stops us. And see you in March. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks for the
Great
valuable
job.
input.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.